will work this way. Cool. Well, I apologize for the crappy intro. Hi, I'm Rodney Hash, and welcome to my first live on YouTube. Kind of something like that. Anyway, so today we're going to be discussing SB56, its passage, and what that means. As you guys can see here, I got a fat stack of something to talk about with you guys. I'm going to be discussing who voted for it, what happened. This took a long time to pass. We the people fought this tooth and nail. They still passed it. If you want the brief summary, I'll be completely honest with you guys. This is not a good thing for we the people. This is good for dispensary owners and cultivation owners because they win in this. They are the big winners out of SB56, which doesn't surprise me because we all know what OCAN or Ohio Cannabis Coalition does. It's not good for the people. Before I start, I will say every single person in the House, except for these people that I will be giving a big shout out to, voted yes on this bill. These people, in my opinion, all need out of office. Over 40 people, last time I attended, wrote in testimony. Over 20 people spoke in opposition to this bill, and they still passed it. I don't care what Governor DeWine does. I don't care what his prerogatives are. You, lawmakers, are there to represent us, your constituents. And just like a boss is going to fire you, we're going to vote everyone out except for these people right here. So, I want to give a really big shout out to, and the wildest part is, it wasn't party lines that this was. I really thought the Democrats were going to hold the line. I really thought that I was in talks with a lot of them. The Republicans didn't surprise me. The Republicans that voted no on this surprised me, and I want to give them a big shout out, and that does not include who you think. I'm sure a lot of you are thinking, well, Callender wouldn't have voted for this, right? Callender's a cannabis advocate, right? Wrong. My own representative, Dan Troy, I called him yesterday. I called him this morning. And I asked him, I begged him on voicemail, pleading, do not vote for this. This is a bad bill. They CRC'd it. They sprinkled some sprinkles on the dog shit and called it a better bill. Well, it's still dog shit, and I ain't gonna eat it. So, big shout out to Tim, I'm gonna butcher your name, Tim Barhorst, or Tim Barhorst. He's a Republican. He voted no on this bill in the House. Shout out to you, good sir. Christine Cockley, a Democrat. Shout out to you, good ma'am. Levi Dean, a Republican. Shout out to you. Jennifer Gross, shout out to you, a Republican. Ismail Muhammad, this one doesn't surprise me, man. I love you, man. You show up to town halls. You really care what your constituents say. The fact that you voted no on this after hearing everything that all of us advocates had to say means a lot. It really does. I can't understate that. Same thing with DJ Swearinger. This one surprised me. I was told he was the vice chair on the Republican side, and he voted no on this in the House. I'm impressed, and very big shout out to both of you. Very proud of both of you, all of you guys. Michelle Teska, I apologize if I said that wrong, Teska, also a Republican. Desiree Timms, another person who was in the committee, shows up to try and go to town halls, tries to listen to our advocacy, asks follow-up questions, was very engaged during these committee hearings. Both of these two, really all three of them, were awesome. I cannot say enough how much that means to all of the citizens of of Ohio. I'm sorry, I'm really tired. I just got off a 12-hour shift, came home, well, actually ran to the library to print all this stuff out after doing a deep dive into SB56 and the updated passage. 16 is the iteration, -16 is what you could find in the state legislature, now apparently going into law, unfortunately. I will also say, personally, I feel like this goes against the Ohio State Constitution. A couple of different ways. For one, and there was a Utah Supreme Court case that very recently ruled that's very similar to the way Ohio's Constitution is written, that you cannot write and pass a law that changes a voter initiative that the voters passed to do anything other than facilitate it. The only law that should have been passed, if the social equity part of it was truly written, and it was, to where the Supreme Court would not find it fit for law, change that to make it to where it does. You can describe it in other ways besides just saying someone's black. I was a very low income individual. I'm very white. I was very affected by the war on drugs. Everyone in poverty was. Let's be real. Did it specifically affect black people more? Absolutely. Statistically. If you look at Nixon's cabinet member, the Controlled Drugs or the Controlled Substances Act came under Nixon. His cabinet member, sorry if you guys hear the storming outside, just started. Nixon's cabinet member said something along the lines of, did we know that it was, how do we say it? It was something along the lines of, we couldn't make it against the war, or illegal to be against the war or black, but we could make it illegal to use marijuana and heroin, and we can associate the blacks and the hippies with such, and vilify them on the evening news. I'm very much butchering this, but not by much. Vilify them on the evening news, raid their homes, raid their assemblies. That's what the Controlled Substances Act did. Just so we're all aware of what history is with all this. But yeah, so I really hope that someone with a large amount of money, the hemp industry is kind of getting fucked on this. I hope people challenge this. They go against the one subject rule as well as the facilitating rule. This doesn't facilitate it, and you guys will see. Now, keep in mind, they did already change at the very end of the last General Assembly, they changed the social equity program already. They pulled the funds for the 36%, and they changed around how that works to where it's now going to the General Revenue Fund. They didn't fix that in this. They made it worse. So again, 57% of voters, over 2.2 million people voted yes on issue 2. A lot of these things don't facilitate it. It makes major changes. Let me skim through this. So I will say with home grow, that is one thing. And I will say there are some wins here. Everything that our advocates did is not to go to waste. SB56 would have passed 6 months to a year ago had we not done all that we did. So I'm proud of all of you guys. I really am. Yes, where am I? So yeah, there's been 16 iterations of this bill. So I'm going to compare the House version that was passed, the 16th iteration, versus the Senate version that was passed by the Senate. All Republicans voted yes in the Senate, and all Democrats voted no in the Senate. And I really wish that would have been the case in the House. I'm very disappointed in a large amount of the Democrats. I'm not going to shout anyone out, but trust me, people will be primarying you, a lot of you. That is something we will be working on. So, and I don't care how much money you have. Money isn't what wins you elections. Votes are. You got that money so that way you can go and market to people and buy votes. Because people know, more often than not, people vote based on name, which is why Donald Trump won in large part. Let's be real. If you look at the presidential cycles, for all of my lifetime before that, whoever spent the most money won. Why? Because they had the most name recognition. They were able to spend the most on marketing. Well, in state elections, in local elections, they're won by a couple hundred votes sometimes. Tens. So, be ready. So one win I will say is with the home grow. So within this home grow, the Senate version originally cut the number of plants allowed per household down to 6 from 12. That's a big no-no. That's something that I think every single advocate touched on at one point or another in their speech. And for that reason, we won that. You're not allowed 12. So it's basically what the voters approved. 6 plants per person, max 12 per household. That's what the House voter passed. Let's see, where you can use marijuana. What the voters approved was you can use it in private residences and not public places. Very simple language. Meaning like a business that's a private business can host a smoke sesh time. And there's been quite a few of them that I've been to, and they are awesome, and it's really good for the community. It's good for local economy. It's good for glass blowers. It's good for everyone. They want to shut those down. With that being said, in the Senate version, you could only use marijuana inside your home, not even in your backyard. That's what the Senate passed. Know that for every single senator in your district. Look them up. See how they voted on this. They don't want you to smoke weed outside your home in any way, shape, and or form, including in your backyard, and that's ridiculous. The House substitute version, the 16th iteration, you can use marijuana on privately owned property used for residential or agricultural purposes, including yards and outdoor areas, as long as they're private. You can also use it at I'm assuming they mean, as an example, you can use it in an outdoor concert venue if the venue allows it. So again, privately owned property, I'm assuming that's meaning businesses, so it's kind of going back to it, but it's just being significantly more complicated. So here's a big one. Sharing cannabis with your friends. What the voters approved. You can share it. I can pass you a joint. It's no big deal. I can give you 3 ounces. It's no big deal. There was a gentleman who testified, shout out to Ronnie, who helps veterans and just gives them all kinds of stuff that's cannabis related that they don't want you to do, apparently. The Senate version made it completely illegal to share with anyone. Even giving a friend a joint would be a crime, punishable by up to $1,000 fine. That's what your senators passed. That's only changed in this last iteration. This is only changed in the 16th iteration. That's wild. And I will say, if you're a hemp operator, you're kind of getting fucked in this too. So sorry, that's probably my one of that I'm allowed in here. I really want to swear a lot, but I know YouTube doesn't allow it. I will also say, if you guys are talking in the comments at all, I can't see it right this second. When I'm done with a decent bit of what this bill does, I'll come over and I'll look and see what the comments are, see if there's any super chats, anything crazy like that, shout you guys out. I'll take questions. We'll look into this a little bit more. We'll go back to things if you guys miss stuff. I appreciate y'all. So going back to sharing marijuana or cannabis with friends, the Senate version made it illegal to the point to where it was punishable by fines up to $1,000. The latest version, adults can transfer cannabis to another adult at their private residence without paying for it. So you can share it with your friends at your home. It really makes me feel like they're going after events, and you're gonna see why as this goes on, and that's not okay either. It's a thing where you gotta care about the community, man. You gotta know where the culture's at, and that's where I've had someone tell me recently that they're like, I just don't think people care about this. Believe me, people care about this. Let them know in the comments. Hit that like, subscribe. Hype is the new thing that's going on YouTube, so that will help too. I don't get paid to do any of this. I'm just really passionate about it. I really care. I really love all y'all, and I want to see us, the people, win. So you're kind of allowed to do it, but you're not allowed to pay for it. So that's where things get weird. I don't know if there's any specific language saying that gifting and donation is illegal specifically, because I don't think that it does. So gifting and donation should still be legal. So just note, everyone, we're on the donation system here. Using marijuana as a passenger in a car. So this is a pretty big one that a lot of us touched on. What the voters voted for, which I don't even think this was part of it. Saying using marijuana as a passenger. I used an AI to go through all this. I don't have the time to go through 151 legal pages. So I did look specifically. I was very, very specific with my prompt. There's pros and cons to AI. You have to use it like any other tool. You can't use a hammer to do everything. Hint, hint. Anyway, it was ticketable by up to $150 fine in the voter approved version, which I don't even know if it was that. We also had decrim passed like 10 years ago, so like it shouldn't even be a $150 fine, I don't think, anymore. Senate version of SB56 that was passed by the Senate created extreme harsh penalties that escalated all the way up to felony charges and mandatory prison time for repeat offenders. Even 5 years in prison for a fourth offense, and that is using marijuana and as a passenger in a car. You gotta be freaking kidding me. 5 years in prison. There was mandatory minimums on that too. I already know, I remember looking it up and finding that and being like, this is insane. The first time you get caught, you got a mandatory minimum? Come on, dude. A couple days in jail will ruin someone's life. 3 days in jail, they may not be able to come back to work ever again. Thanks. SB56, the House approved version, the Senate, the SB56-16, goes pretty much back to what the voters approved, a minor misdemeanor with a small fine. I don't know what the exact fine is. I will have to look into that a little bit. This bill just got freshly done, or actually, just on the 21st or the 20th, it got to a lot of these guys' desks at like 7 p.m. And then they had to vote on it the next day. I will give a shout out to Seinenberg saying that he didn't want to vote on it at that point. He felt like it was kind of going against the will of the voters, or all those that testify. We weren't even allowed to have testimony. There was people that were there that would have loved to have given their testimony on this, the 16th iteration. And they would have told you, no, don't vote for this, but you didn't allow it. And that's specifically on the chair. Then we're getting into THC limits. So the voters approved 35% THC maximum and 90% in extracts, whatever. The Senate version cut it down heavily. 35% flower limit was fine, but it lowered extracts all the way down to 70. Also added a rule that edibles and other products, except for vapes and smoking products, could only have 10 milligrams per serving and 100 milligrams per package. That was the Senate version. The House version was keeps about 35%, or keeps the 35% flower cap. THC potency with flower is nonsense anyway. But it still cuts it down to 70% extracts, which means your extracts in Ohio are probably going to be cut with something. They may add CBD, they may add filler terps, but they don't understand that when people are required to do that, who knows what people are going to do. I think we all know what big money does. I don't think I need to say it. But it also gives the Division of Marijuana Control the power to raise or eliminate these limits for any product if they think it's needed. I hope they think it's needed. Anyway, so product types and pre-rolls, I'm going to skip over that. But what I do want to talk about, where did that go? Dispensary owners. So this is, again, what I mean by this is not good for the people. It's really good for the people that are already operating in the system. Third generation wealth people. Yeah, gotta love them. So the Senate version that was passed. So I'll start off with this. What we voted at the ballot, there was no specific cap. It was up to like, hey, how many of you guys want over here? Like, cities can put a certain cap on it, whatever. Like, it's up to you guys. That's what we voted. Well, the Senate version limited to 350. The House version, oh, this is so much better. 400 dispensaries in the state of Ohio, guys. That's it. Come on. Like, you're serious? 400 dispensaries? Do you know how many Michigan has? And they're like, oh, it's a saturated market. No, that's what your owners are telling you. It's a competitive market up there. And it's another thing I want to talk about at the very end of this, if we have time, is the wholesale tax that just passed up there. But that will probably be for a later date. I'm hungry and tired, and I got to work another 12-hour shift tomorrow. And we haven't even gotten to the worst part of this that I think is in here. Yeah, so cutting it down to 400 dispensaries only helps big operators. It makes it really hard for anyone new to operate. What's another one that's a big one? So I'm going to skip a couple here and I'll come back to it. There's one that I really want to get to that really pisses me off and I think will piss a lot of you guys off. Public benefits, because a lot of this stuff right here is all the hemp stuff, which is again what I mean by I feel like they're already voiding the one subject rule in the Constitution in the state of Ohio, because they clumped in all of the hemp stuff, which, by the way, legally speaking, is different than cannabis. Scientifically speaking, it is not. So legally speaking, they brought another subject in, hemp, into the cannabis laws, which were already way more than one subject. There's a couple other wins in here that I'll get to in a second. Disqualifying offenses, cultivators, dispensaries. Local governments got screwed. Local governments now have, instead of what we voted was 36% was supposed to go to, it was either 33 or 36% was supposed to go to all the local municipalities in perpetuity, meaning forever, to any place that hosts a dispensary. So for example, Paynesville hosts Bloom. If they go rec, they would then get a certain amount of that tax dollars. Now they only get 25%, and that's what was passed by the House. The Senate version was worse, but what was passed by the House is like you get 25%, but don't hold your breath, it's only for 7 years. Yeah, 7 years is a long time, but that's absolutely ridiculous. And any of you guys who voted yes on that, you need voted out of office. You don't care about your constituents. Where is it? I don't see it, but I know I seen it earlier. Anyway, I'll probably pass it up later. So now, this is very serious I want to talk to you guys about that just passed. In Senate Bill 56-16, the 16th iteration of the bill, passed, except for those that I listed, with a lot of yeses. They don't care about your rights. If you get fired for failing a drug test for cannabis, regardless of what it is, or let's say you've worked at this company for 10 years. For some reason, they decide to hit you with a drug test. You didn't do anything wrong. You may have pissed off the owner when you asked them, like, hey, like, when can I get a raise? But you didn't do anything wrong. So you get hit with a drug test. Now, Ohio's an at-will employment state, right? So you're supposed to be able to get unemployment if someone screws you over. Except for if you fail a drug test for cannabis now. Now, you don't get unemployment rights. Per SB56-16, and let me be very clear, you can get fired for a drug test at work. You have no workers' rights. You can then not apply for unemployment benefits. You aren't eligible because you got fired for failing a drug test in a state that's legal, not only medical. And I don't even think that saves you in this situation. All those Democrats that voted yes on that, all those Republicans that voted yes on that, I am pissed. And that's why I want to primary you guys out. That's the biggest one to me. Oh, and by the way, there's a severability clause in this. Meaning, if, say for example, a judge, a state-approved Ohio judge, does find this to be unconstitutional for one reason or another, that doesn't make the rest of this bill not count. It's still law. Only that one subject, that one portion of the bill that he finds unconstitutional or not lawful, that's it. So even if we take them to court on this, I don't know how much we can really do because of the severability clause. That's insane. I can't believe they voted this in. Universal work permits requires background checks for anyone working in a marijuana business. That's what was passed by the Senate version. So this is for you guys that are wanting to work in metric. I don't advise it. You could get paid more doing the same exact thing in any other industry. They know it. The version that was passed, it's a little different. It creates a universal marijuana work permit program where someone gets one permit that lets them work at any licensed marijuana business. They don't need a separate approval for each employer. That also allows provisional permits while background checks are pending, so people can start working while waiting. So again, this doesn't benefit we the people. This benefits we the corporations. Why? Because it doesn't matter if you're a pedophile. Your background check isn't coming up and gonna flag for 30 days, and it looks like the provisional ones are like 6 months or something like that, and then you can get it twice, meaning you could be a pedophile working in the cannabis industry for an extended period of time and no one would ever know. Great. You did a great job, Ohio. I'm so proud of you. That was the version that was passed. This is like getting a letter. I'm not even going to get into that. All right, so here's where the hemp part of it come in. I'm not super familiar with hemp, or at least the legality of it and how it ran in Ohio. There wasn't a whole lot there. It was ran by the Department of Agriculture, which is who I feel like should be running cannabis as a whole, is the guys who understand plants and biology and plant biology. Well, what do I know? Not biology and plant biology and plants. Neither does our lawmakers, but that's beside the point. Hemp regulations, intoxicating hemp products are hemp products that contain more than 0.5 milligrams of delta-9 THC per serving, more than 2 milligrams per pack, and no more than 0.5 milligrams of any other types of THC per package. Wow. That's what they defined it as. So, how would these be regulated? Here we go. For intoxicating hemp products, the quote stronger stuff, I'm assuming they mean by like, I don't even know. But anyway, for all intoxicating hemp products, which I don't know, I'm so mad. They can only be sold at licensed marijuana dispensaries. Are you freaking kidding me? Must be tested for safety. These were all added in 16th iteration. If the camera moves around, the cat's messing with the post. Come here, Titus. You just want to be on camera, huh, bud? He said no. Anyway, so they can only be sold at marijuana dispensaries. Must be tested for safety. Must follow packaging, labeling, and advertising rules. Probably the same ones that Metric have to follow. Like I said, the only winners in here, OCAN, is the Metric market. That's it. That's the only real win I feel here. Like this hurts. They're subject to the same 10% tax for drinkable cannabinoid products. Specifically the weaker drinks, they can be sold at dispensaries and at any place liquor stores are sold, or liquor licenses are. That's weird, but okay. Manufacturers must register with the state every year. They already did. Products must be tested after being sold. Okay. Subject to a $3.50 per gallon tax. So you're already very heavily limited on the amount of milligrams you're allowed to have per drink and per serving. And then you're going to tax them heavily on that on top of it? You got to be kidding me. Enforcement, where does the money go? Changes how marijuana tax money gets used. Oh, yeah, here's an important one. So here's what was passed as far as the tax money goes. What was supposed to happen, what we voted on at the ballot, that these people that run the legislature, seriously, you can look up multiple of them saying that we don't know what we voted on. You don't know what you voted on. Did you know that? I didn't know that. I knew what I voted on. I read it. But he said, I don't know what I voted on, so I don't know what I'm voting on. So what was supposed to happen with the tax revenue, I'm pretty sure that was changed too. But anyway, 36% was supposed to go to social equity and jobs programs. It was supposed to create and facilitate jobs. Specifically for people who were harmed by marijuana arrests in the past, and we'll get into that, fund criminal justice reform and help small businesses get started in the industry. This was supposed to be the Tier 3 licenses. That's what this was. I don't see any Tier 3 licenses. We'll get into that. 36% of the tax revenue was supposed to go to cities, townships, and municipalities that hold dispensaries. Local communities were supposed to win on this. That's why people voted for this. Even if you don't smoke cannabis, you know how much these taxes can help your community. And we wanted you guys to. That would make me actually want to shop at a dispensary. This bullshit makes me never want to go to any OCAN dispensary because I know they had them there. Brian Stewart, Huffman, we're both at OCAN events multiple times. I got a couple of people sending me pictures of the stuff. It's ridiculous. They were on the OCAN website or on their Instagram. So instead of 36% going to cities, they're getting 25%. That 36% was supposed to be in perpetuity forever. Now it's only for the next 7 years, meaning after 7 years, people are going to be really upset about them. They're going to be like, look, this business up the street I get tax revenue from, but I don't get any tax revenue from the freaking dispensary? Come on, man. That's one of the largest revenue sources in the city. Oh, and by the way, in case any of you guys were wondering, I used to work up at Bloom, Paynesville, middle of nowhere. Well, it's not middle of nowhere. It's Lake County, but it's kind of off the beaten path quite a ways. That store now makes $12 million a year last I heard. When I was there, daily, cumulatively our drawers were like $54,000, something stupid like that. Tell your small business owners that. See what their reactions are. They're going to be pissed. 25% of this tax was supposed to go to substance abuse and addiction services, treatment programs, and education to addiction. That's what we voted on. That they said we didn't know what we voted on. 3% of that was then supposed to go to running the program for administrative costs, to go to the Division of Cannabis Control or whatever we established at that point. The Senate version was really bad. The Senate version took the taxes and put pretty much all of them in a... Hold on. Eliminated most of the specific uses and sent all the tax money to the state's general revenue fund. That's what I thought. Only kept the 36% for local communities with dispensaries. Somehow the House changed that and made that worse. So check this. The House version sends all revenue to the general revenue fund except for during a 7-year period starting in the fiscal year of 2026, meaning this doesn't even start yet. 25% of the tax dollars goes to municipalities and townships with dispensaries. Yep. For intoxicating hemp taxes, the 10% tax on these just goes straight to the general revenue fund. Seriously? Seriously? Go look up what's up with the general revenue fund. There's a reason people didn't want the money going there. We wanted to see where it went. For drinkable cannabinoid products, we already discussed the $3.50 per gallon goes to the general revenue fund. The Social Equity and Jobs Program. So again, they're not facilitating issue 2. They're destroying issue 2. They're breaking constitutional law in the state of Ohio. That's why you got to share it. Let people be aware of it. You don't even have to share it. Just go talk to your friends about it. If you really care, hit the like button. Cool. Appreciate you. But man, we need to talk about this. Criminal penalties and enforcement. This is where it gets weird. So it's definitely better than the Senate version. However, key changes is the most criminal penalties only apply if someone knowingly breaks the law. Yeah. For example, if you have 13 plants instead of 12, prosecutors would have to prove that you knew you had too many and were intentionally breaking the law, not just miscounted. Oh, I didn't know I had 10 extra. Whoops. I miscounted. I graduated in Ohio. I almost graduated at Ledgemont. Transportation rules. So again, the Senate version's really bad. Said you couldn't transport cannabis in a car unless it was in the original unopened packaging and in the trunk or back seat. Said you couldn't transport paraphernalia unless it was in the original packaging and in the trunk/back seat as well. You gotta be fucking kidding me. Hey, your bong's in the passenger seat. I know it's clean, but you're not allowed to have that. It's gotta be in the back seat. Get the fuck out of here. Transportation. So when it comes to the actual vote or the approved version, by the way, there was no transportation in the Senate or the voter approved one. The House substitute 16th iteration keeps these rules, but exempts unprocessed plant material like fresh frozen, fresh buds, flowers from the packaging requirements. Still requires knowing violations, so accidentally having some in the wrong place wouldn't automatically be a crime, but they're gonna try and make it a crime. Locations where growing is prohibited. The House substitute bill adds that you cannot grow marijuana in halfway houses, community housing, or other similar licensed by the Division of Parole and or Community Services. All right. I'm going to pause here. They didn't need to add this. It's up to the landlord or the person who owns the building, which would include the Division of Parole and Community Services. They could have just made a policy and that would have been legally allowed. It doesn't trump the law because it's facilitated by the law. Anyway, so it also, there's an Ohio investigative unit powers that it gives them. The Senate version said the Ohio investigative unit could only investigate licensed marijuana businesses if invited by regulators or if criminal activity was involved. This gives Ohio Investigative Unit, the ability to investigate any licensed dispensary or marijuana business at any time, whether or not there's suspected criminal activity. This gives law enforcement more power to check on businesses. Now I'm going to stop here and elaborate on this. So, that doesn't just mean metric. That means vapor house up the street. That means the gas station that sold hemp products. All of those places are now subject to the Ohio Investigative Unit. That's what your House passed. I'm pissed, dude. You should be too. Again, I will give another shout out to Tim Barhorst, Christine Cockley, Levi Dean, Jennifer Gross, Ismail Mohammed, DJ Swearingen, Michelle Tessick, and Desiree Timms. Seriously, shout out to these people. I want to call them and thank them personally for voting no on this. Because they clearly read a little bit and went, I'm not signing my next election cycle away. Because guess what? All the others, 29, some stupid number like that. Protections against discrimination. So this is state licensing boards cannot take action against someone like doctors, lawyers, nurses just because they work in the marijuana industry. So this counts for white collar people. State licensing boards cannot take action against someone who cannot. This is a big win. Child custody cases. This is the only thing that I find positive about this bill. And this should have been done on a separate bill, on a one subject bill. One. This is one subject. Child custody cases. Courts cannot say a child is abused or neglected or change custody or visitation arrangements based only on a parent's legal cannabis use, unless there's clear or convincing evidence the child is unsafe. That's a big win. People cannot be denied being removed from organ transplant waiting list. Who lobbied this? Who lobbied this? Housing. Landlords cannot refuse to rent to someone just because they use marijuana legally. However, landlords can prohibit smoking and vaping of cannabis on their property, similar to how they have no smoking rules for cigarettes. Fair enough. I don't think that needed to be in there because I'm pretty sure issue 2, as passed, already had something along those lines. You just had to have it in your tenant agreement. You couldn't just do it like that. Girlfriend's home. The dogs are going wild. Business contracts. I don't know if y'all can hear them. Even the cat's like, what's up? Anyway, this bill specifically states that contracts released to or related to marijuana. Whoa! What did you do? OCAN. OCAN sponsored this. This, keep in mind, most NDAs, most things that are in the cannabis industry that they make you sign are not enforceable. They're not. And by the way, NDAs in the cannabis industry are nonsense anyway, because there is no proprietary information. There's only one person, Ross Tree Processing, that had proprietary new information. Everything else can be found on Future 4200. Even then, I'm pretty sure they participate in Future 4200. Business contracts is insane. This protects business owners who might worry that courts won't respect their contracts. This protects OCAN. This protects OCAN. Hold on one second. I'm going to go ahead and let these dogs out. So if you guys see dogs running around, I apologize. Or congratulations. You guys have made it to the part of the live where there could be a Big E, there could be a Gemini, or there could even be an Eeyore laying around. As long as they don't move the camera. Anyway, expungement. So this is where things get annoying to me more than anything. It's very, very annoying. Clearing out old criminal records. Now keep in mind, there's this thing called an expungement process. I went through it. Let me explain to you what happened. I got in trouble for cannabis when I was 18. I expunged that record. A couple of years later, I had to pay $75 and then basically wait in a court. A judge and the probation department decided my fate, decided if I got to have that expunged off my permanent record or not. What's she got? Her bone, his bone, great. So that's how expungement works. After a certain period of time, you're allowed to go and ask to get your record erased. For that one specific thing, you have to pay for it. Keep in mind, when we voted in issue 2, I was under the impression, and many, many others were, hi big legs, that you didn't have to pay anything anymore. And it didn't matter the level of offense. If it was a cannabis crime, it should be gone away. I don't care if you were growing 3,000 plants. You didn't shoot anyone? You didn't even have any guns? Cool, clean, clear. We're sorry. That's what I voted for. Here's what passed. Both the Senate and House versions substitute include provisions allowing people to clear past marijuana convictions if they received or from the if the amount they were convicted of is now legal. Only if it's now legal. So if you got arrested and you had 20 plants, that's not gone. That's still there. You can't get it expunged. It says so right here in the law. It's the law. Who qualifies then? People who got caught with less than 2.5 ounces or 15 grams of concentrate and were legal as 21 and over only to possess. Yeah. How does it work? A person has to file an application with the court. Does that sound familiar? The court schedules a hearing 45 or 90 days after filing. The prosecutor can object. Probation department investigates and submits a report. The court weighs in whether clearing the record serves the person's interest or whether the government needs to keep their records. If approved, all official records are expunged. The same way that it was before? You did nothing. You did nothing. The only thing that's been positive in this bill at all so far has been your child care protection for people. Everything else has been fantastic for metric, and it gets better for metric. Still costs $50. Of that, 30 goes to the state and 20 goes to the county. Wow. With 15 of that 30 going to the Attorney General's fund. Yeah, I wonder who leaned in on this. Not the wine at all. It even notes, current law already allows for expungement of these records through existing process. The provision didn't create something entirely new. It confirms that, yeah, you're allowed. You've got to be kidding me. Who runs the program? Current situation is there's 2 separate entities. I didn't know this. The Division of Cannabis Control, the DCC, handles adult use, and the Division of Marijuana Control handles medical. Now, I'm going to be real with you guys. I think they should be separate. I don't think the same testing requirements should be there for rec as they are for med. I think med should be very high. I think med should be required terpene testing. I don't think it should be required on rec. I think it should be optional. Why? Because they have a medicinal value, even though they don't want to admit it. You can look up, you literally type in any of those terpenes on PubMed and you'll find tons of research. I've already done a couple of videos on them. So it basically combines them into one. The Division of Cannabis Control. Oh, no, the substitute bill does the marijuana control instead. Because they don't want it to be cannabis, they want it to be marijuana, which people have argued with them that marijuana is a racist term, and it kind of is. When you look back on the history of it, marijuana is not the same as cannabis. Marijuana, technically speaking, was slang for a Mexican tobacco. Way, way back when. Look into why. Just go ahead, do your research. Trust me, you'll find some interesting stuff. Skip over some of this. Just qualifying conditions. Yeah, we'll talk about this. So, in the Senate version that was passed, regulators said that they needed to create rules which crimes disqualify someone from getting a license. Removed the specific list of disqualifying crimes in the 5-year time. I don't know what the heck that means. It said regulators must create rules about which crimes disqualify someone from getting a license. Okay. This one, which the substitute bill basically just defined those disqualifying offenses. Those include any felony or first-degree misdemeanor drug offense, any felony theft offense, crimes that are of moral turpitude? Immoral crimes, I'm assuming? I don't know how you describe that, but anyway. Criminal violations of food and drug laws. However, it does not include misdemeanors for possession. However, it does not include misdemeanors for marijuana possession, trafficking, cultivation, paraphernalia, or other ones. This means that past misdemeanors of marijuana won't prevent someone from getting in the industry. But if you have a felony, which if you grew, you got a felony, yeah, it's ridiculous. 5-year statute of limitation returns. Disqualifying offenses only matter if they happen in the last 5 years, except all felonies disqualify forever, regardless of when they happened. Wow, you guys are pieces of... Anyway, because the reason that that's annoying is because you could be a felon for growing like 30, 40, 50 plants, something stupid. It's just dependent on how they decided to treat you in the courtroom. So, here's again where... Who sponsored this bill? Was it OCAN that sponsored this bill? Oh, it was Huffman at all the OCAN events. I think Huffman was at a lot of OCAN events. So, in the Senate version, they had level 1 cultivators that are currently existing. Instead of having the limited number of space that they have, they now go up to 25,000 and could expand all the way up to 75,000 square feet. Level 2 cultivators could expand up to 3,000, 9,000, or 15,000. Now, again, the thing that passed, those big actors, those big guys that are already growing too much moldy buds like Rivera Creek that are allegedly, according to their own testimony, sitting on hundreds of pounds of product that they can't move. Those guys now get up to 100,000 square feet. That's it. 100,000 square. It's not you have the option to like you just get 100,000 square feet. That's nuts. Level 2 operators, you get up to 15,000 square feet. Man, it sure feels like Buckeye had something to do with this. And I've heard some rumors that Buckeye had something, or Amplify Buckeye had something to do with those recalls. I don't know if it's true or not. It's just something I heard, but I wouldn't be surprised. I worked for Andy. Dude's not as great as he puts on. I'll tell you that much. Says one thing, does another. What businesses can do? Cultivators. That's nothing that matters. Dispensaries could only get it from yada yada. Dispensaries can now just sell paraphernalia approved by rules. They could already do that. Can deliver according to rules. Okay, so that's cool. We can now deliver marijuana. So that's a thing. We'll see how that works out. Because I don't think it's going to be like a Duber situation. I think it's going to be like the dispensary has to hire someone to do that. Whatever. Testing requirements. Okay, I haven't read this, so I'm reading this with you guys. It says testing can only be required once. It must happen before the product is sold to the dispensary. This prevents multiple expensive tests on the same batch. Who sponsored this bill? You guys know who sponsored this bill. Come on. Let me see, has there been anyone in the chat? Anyone questioning stuff? Man, no chats. Oh, yep, there's chats. Oh, there's a lot of chats. Is this about the Farm Bill? Thinking of this, sad day in Ohio, politicians carving a market for their brewery friends and removing Class 3 cultivation licenses to keep, yep. Consumers want events, yep. The voters wanted cannabis regulated like alcohol, and you can have alcohol at events, agreed. Oh boy, can't wait to spend a boatload on a 2G bucket with rosin that's been cut with junk. Single source, oh wow. How does the new possession rules affect home grow? So how does the new possession rules affect home grow? That's where it gets weird. I'll have to look into it a little bit more to see if it's specifically, I'm assuming it's outside of the household that would matter. They can't exactly come in and check your household. So, this absolute bullshit. Ohio needs to fix that because my place has lost good workers over that, even though we can have bad workers who drink and it not be an issue. Agreed. Frost. Yo, Captain Green Toker in the chat. But a long time, homie. So no THCA or Delta is allowed to be sold in smoke shops. Yes, that is correct. So basically, no Delta A, no intoxicating hemp as defined as, what did it say? Anything above 0.5 milligrams THC is now intoxicating hemp, and that can only be sold at dispensaries or licensed places, which would then mean that all of the head shops would have to get a license. They would have to apply for it and get it through the DCC. It's really not good. Really, really, really bad. Advertising restrictions. So the House substitute version removed several advertising restrictions that were in the Senate version. The Senate version had pre-approval for requirements for all names, logos, signs, and materials, ban on advertisements within 500 feet of schools, churches, libraries, parks, playgrounds, and businesses that attract children. That's a lot. Ban on advertisements suggesting health benefits.
Get in your cage.
Dogs, gotta love them. So what did get passed was it removed the pre-approval requirement. So you don't need pre-approval for names, logos, signs, and material. It removes the 500-foot restriction of schools, churches, libraries, parks, and businesses that attract children. I thought it was supposed to be for the children, dude. You remove the 500-foot restriction of schools, libraries, playgrounds, parks, and businesses that attract. Like, of all things that you removed from the Senate version, you removed that and passed it? Removes the ban on health benefit claims. Okay. The DCC is going to come down on them for it anyway. However, it keeps the authority for regulators to prohibit advertisements that are obscene to depict marijuana use or promote marijuana as an intoxicant. Note that it removes attractive to minors from this list. Yet again, it's about the kid. It's never been about the kids. Even though the whole reason this hemp ban thing got started was because a 4-year-old in a state neighboring us died after consuming Delta 8 gummies. Their parents allegedly thought they were CBD. Here's the thing. He didn't overdose from cannabis. There is no lethal dosage for cannabis, for THC. I don't even know if there is for Delta 8. But this child had cardiac arrest problems. He's 4 years old and they already knew he had heart problems. If you're 4 years old and you ingest a large amount of cannabis, couldn't you scare the out of yourself? Couldn't you literally scare yourself to death if you have a heart condition? Potentially. But instead, we're going on a hemp ban? Come on, dude. DeWine's been wanting to do this for years. The whole time. Local government authority. So this is what the Senate version didn't address: local government authority powers. However, the new version, -16, does. It explicitly prohibits cities and townships from banning or limiting any activity authorized under the marijuana control law, including home grow. Okay, I'm okay with that. For the most part, I'm okay with that. It just depends under where they want to push it. Banning or limiting it. Okay, yeah, I'll take that as a win. So that's 2 wins out of this bill. 2. They could have been passed on their own, separately. Didn't need all this. This is a lot of bill riding. It's not just riding, it's bill riding. But yeah, here we go. Unemployment benefits. Both the Senate and House version, House substitute, included a provision saying that if someone is fired for marijuana use that violates their employer's policy, they are not eligible to receive unemployment benefits. This means, even though marijuana is legal, employers can still fire you for using it, and you won't get unemployment benefits while you wait to look for a new job. So basically, you smoke weed, get fucked. That's kind of how they're putting it to us. Then, this is where things get worse, and this is where I fear the legal battle of this. It's going to be very uphill. I'm going to need to talk to a legal scholar on this, because, man, a severability clause. The House substitute version includes a severability clause. This legal term means that if a court rules one part of the law is unconstitutional or invalid, the rest of the law can still be enforced. For example, if the courts decide the THC limits are not allowed for some legal reasons, the severability clause means that the entire bill doesn't get thrown out, as it should. Just that one part is invalid, while everything else stays in effect. Isn't that crazy? Seeing if there's anything else crazy in here that we need to talk about before I go back and look at some more of your questions. Proponents of the bill included the Chamber of Commerce, Prosecuting Attorneys Association, Ohio Poison Control Centers, Preventing Tobacco Addiction Foundation. Some substance abuse treatment advocates. That makes no sense. Opponents included ACLU of Ohio, Marijuana Policy Project, Ohio Normal, the Cannabis Consumer Coalition, most marijuana industry businesses at first. Once the Senate bill version come around, I'm sure they had a hand in this. Small hemp businesses were opponents. Drug Policy Alliance. Everyone hated it. The main arguments, the bill overrides what the voters approved. Shocker. It still does. Eliminates the social equity program. Was repeated over and over and over and over again, and they still kicked it out. They don't care. Recriminalizes activities. They did. THC caps are lack scientific justification, may force unsafe additives, as I said. Hurts small businesses and favors the large corporations. So this has been going on for years. So literally, what is it? January 28th, that's when Huffman first brought this bill to floor. Let me see what else is in here, just in case I'm missing anything crazy. Small business owner owns a hemp shop, sells Delta 8 legal products. Under issue 2, they could sell them. Under Senate version, there was no addressing. Now she would have to stop selling intoxicating hemp products entirely. Only licensed marijuana dispensaries can sell them. She could still sell low THC products that don't exceed limits of 0.05, and you'd have to get it extra tested, and you'd have to register with the state and follow strict labeling. Some of this stuff's just absolutely insane. Let me see, before I kick it off of here and go to bed. Some of the penalties that are still in here. I know they said there are no penalties that are included, but there's still penalties. So let's go over these. Using marijuana as a passenger in a vehicle. Minor misdemeanor, $150, no jail time. That's what passed. That's what actually passed. I'm not going to talk about what almost passed. Called draconia. Using marijuana in a prohibited location, knowingly smoking, combusting, or vaporizing adult use marijuana, homegrown marijuana, or intoxicating hemp products in in a prohibited space that includes public places, places of employment, child care homes, residential, halfway houses. Penalty, it's a minor misdemeanor, $150 offense, jail time, none. So that's good. So illegally sharing / transferring marijuana. Knowingly transferring adult use or homegrown marijuana to any other person except offense. Knowingly transferring adult use or homegrown marijuana to another person except transfers between adult use consumers at the transfer's primary residence without payment. You guys got that? So, if you knowingly transfer adult use or homegrown marijuana outside of your home without payment, there's a penalty. And those penalties would fall under the Ohio's existing marijuana laws for illegal transfer trafficking. So trafficking, they're going to hit you with it. I passed that joint to my girlfriend out in public. Or not at my own private residence, but at a business residence that is approving it. I passed it to her. I'm a criminal. I just trafficked. Great job. Knowingly giving, selling, transferring adult use to a person under 21. First offense, 6 months, $1,000 fine. Immediate revocation of marijuana licenses held. With prior conviction, if you get two offenses, it's a jail time of 6 months to 12 months, up to $2,500, immediate revocation of marijuana license. It's nuts. Home growing violations. Knowingly growing more than double any number of plants. Where is it? Only applies more than double. Important charge. Senate version made growing even one more plant a serious crime. The -16 version only applies penalties if you knowingly grow more than double the legal limit. Okay, that gives you a little bit more leeway. You make mistakes, miscounting. About 6 or 7. How many plants do you got? 6, 7. Growing in prohibited location. Improper transportation. Cost $150. Using a fake ID to buy weed could get you 6 months in jail. Oh, that's stupid. That's real stupid. And then by the 3rd time, they may suspend your driver's license. Or second or subsequent. That's crazy. Dispensary violations, operating without a license. That doesn't apply to us. Hemp product violations, selling intoxicating hemp outside of licensed marijuana dispensaries. So this matters to small business owners. So hemp product violations. So anything more than 0.5 milligrams of Delta-9 per serving or 2 milligrams of Delta-9 per package, or more than 0.5 of total non-Delta-9 THC per package. That's insane. So that is now illegal to sell selling. So basically, we can't buy THCA flower anymore in stores. That's insane. That really hurts the hemp program in the state of Ohio. People like Appalachian Girls, they're the ones that are going to hurt. People like Reverb Wellness, they're the ones that are going to hurt. I can't stand our legislature. Penalties would be established by the Department of Commerce, likely similar to marijuana trafficking laws. That's insane. Let's see what else I got here. Key protections are, yeah, we already went over all those. Yep, so I think that is about it. I appreciate all of you guys joining in. I will be looking at the chat here in just a second. Before I do that, once again, I want to give a big shout out to all of these guys. I don't know if you can read it or not. Again, Tim Barhorst, Christine Cockley, Levi Dean, Jennifer Gross, Ismail Mohammed, DJ Swearingen, Michelle Tessick, and Desiree Timms. I really appreciate you guys. Being the few that voted no means the world to the rest of us. So I really appreciate you. Again, if you guys could like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff, I really appreciate you. Let me see what's going on in the chat over here. Yeah, Nate, Frost, I already said about what Nixon's cabinet member. Yeah, there's a quote. If you look up Nixon cabinet member cannabis quote, you'll find it. All right, guys, I think we're out of here. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Catch you in the next one. Peace out.